Used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.
What up? Welcome back once again to the Necro Zoo. I am Bones. And in this one, let's go ahead and add 2 more figures to my McFarlane DC Multiverse collection. Now today we will be taking a look at the 2-pack of Earth 3 Superman. Now actually this one has been getting a lot of gripes online. Some people not happy with the head sculpts, and that includes me. But as you know, I will always show you the positives and the negatives, and then you can make the decision on your own. Plus, as always, I will add my own little touches and give a little bit of thoughts of what I actually think of this 2-pack. Now, basically, we are looking at another take on the Rebirth suit Superman and another take on the Ultraman figure. Both of these we have already seen released before, but I do think there are a couple of little extras that kind of make it worth it. It just depends of how you look at it. Now, they do look pretty extraordinary in the packaging, but let's go ahead and take a closer look at it. But first, both of them do come with your standard black DC Multiverse stand. Now, of course, these are not really needed, but sometimes they do come in useful. Each come with their data file card. Up first, we have the Superman card. Pretty interesting because to me, this kind of looks like the Superman has the old school classic costume on. They didn't even use an image of a Rebirth Superman, but you know how it goes with the cards. They never really seem to be that consistent, but pretty cool image. And on the back, you do have some information, basically on Clark Kent, Kal-El, Superman. Also, Ultraman comes with his own card. Once again, the comic image from this card does not match the figure that they gave us. This just looks like a regular, although a little darker. The head sculpt that they gave us does not match this. But what are you going to do? It's a cool card. On the back, you have tons of information. Go ahead and spend 30 minutes reading this card if you would like. But I'll go ahead and add this to the collection. Now, they do come with accessories, which are pretty cool. First off, they come with tons of alternate hands. First up, you get 2 sort of gesturing hands, which is one left hand that is in an open gesturing motion, and then one pointing finger hand, which actually I'm a big fan of. I really like this hand. And one thing I did notice is that they had to actually adjust the wrist pegs for these figures so that these hands could actually fit. And what's cool about that is that a lot of other figures actually use this size of peg, so now it's going to be easier to interswap and mix and match these hands. You also get 2 flight hands, which are awesome because they are actually proportionate to the figure, so they look really good. But I actually have special plans for these flight hands. And then the last hands are the same hands that we've received before. They're just a little bit trimmed down. They're not so big and bulky. And those are these like man strangling hands or or sort of like, mauling hands. They do have a cool gesturing effect, which is if you want to do like an angry or battling Superman. So that's pretty cool. I mean, basically, hopefully these will fit with the upcoming Doomsday 2-pack. That way, that Superman could have some other options as well, along with the fist that come with these figures. So, pretty cool. I'm telling you, if McFarlane could start adding a lot of extra hands to figures, it's going to go a long way to pleasing the collectors out there and adding a lot more options to the way you pose your figures or do figure photography. Now, as a bonus, the pack actually comes with this pretty sweet little Atomica figure. Now, this is the newer version from the comics of the character, but it actually looks really good. I think the thing I like the most is that it's not really like a super hard plastic. It actually has a little bit of bend. So that will actually help you because her arms will never break off, her head will never break off, just because the plastic has a little bit of pliability. Now, it is not so soft that it's, real bendy, but it just has that sweet spot of softness to give you some movement without risking breaking this little figure. Hopefully McFarlane releases an upscaled version of this character, so now we have even more of a compensation for picking up this 2-pack. And of course, they also come with this awesome sort of destroyed Daily Planet wreckage. Now, this is awesome. I could see a lot of people actually making a small diorama and then laying this there like it's the wreckage. There was a big battle. So there's tons of ways to use this. You could put the figures on it. In fact, that's actually my future goal, is to actually have a display where I could have all the 2-packs with their stand and with the figures on top of it, each one individually displayed together. So we'll see how that goes. Now, the same thing, this one's a little bit stiffer, but it still has a little bit of flexibility, and you have some different pegs on here to use to either stand the figures, or you can place the Atomica on there. It's all up to you. Now, really quickly, let's go ahead and take a look at these figures. Now, I won't go too much into the articulation because these figures we have seen before, so it's not anything new, but I will focus on the little details and little differences that they do have. Now, first up, let's take a look at the Rebirth Superman. Now, this one, a lot of hate, a lot of lulls coming out of this head. I actually concur with this. This head looks really weird and freaky. And I actually wanted to get my hands on this because for some reason I thought that the head was sitting real low on the neck peg, and that is what actually made like the cheeks look puffy and stuck out. Now, we have actually seen this before. One of the easiest ones I could think of is the Death Metal Superman. Now, that head sat so low that it gave him like a wide cheek look, and on my custom I actually popped the head up and extended the peg to make him look a little bit more hard-jawed and stern, and it actually works. So I was actually looking forward to getting this figure in hand and trying some different things out to see how it looks. But it is a really nice figure. Now, this is probably one of the lighter blues that we've seen McFarlane do on a Superman. It's still not your classic baby blue, but it's, pretty close. It's a lighter tone. Now, you still have smooth articulation in the shoulders and in the joints. That's nothing new. The waist moves good. All the details are there from the Rebirth suit going down into the bright red boots. Now, they didn't add the yellow S in the back, which is a detail that I think would really help with these figures. But for what it is, at least they didn't, paint that red line like they did on the first Rebirth release. Just went ahead and went with the sculpt that is there. So that was really nice of them. And just this head sculpt is the thing that's really got like a sort of AI Uncanny Valley look to it. But you can pop the head off, and once you do that, you can like squish this head closer to give the jawline like a little bit more of a gaunt look, and then actually sit it on the peg. Now, this isn't the most efficient way to do this. Really what you should do is get a slightly longer peg, or actually extend this peg. If you want to see how to do that, look up my Martian Manhunter video. That's where I showed how to do the thigh lift and the head peg extension to get your figure to be a lot taller. But for right now, we could just sit it on there, almost pushing it back onto the peg, but not completely. And you could see where that actually changes the whole look of the head. Now he still looks pretty creepy, which is weird, but I did hear a lot of people wanting a smiling Superman head, and if you can adjust this one a little bit to your preferred look, it actually works really well. Now another thing I do not like, let's go ahead and bring out the original Rebirth Superman, and he is like so short. The legs are so squat that he's really short compared to the other Batman. Even the Ultraman is actually taller than this figure if you don't do the adjustments. So of course I went ahead and popped off the legs, put them in some hot water till they softened up, and then popped out these like pegs that actually slip into the thighs. And then when you put these back in, you don't push them down flush, you actually leave them a little bit up, which actually gives the figure a couple of millimeters of height. And then with the extension of the raised head, it just gives him some more height to where he is not so short. So now if you stand him next to the Rebirth, he's actually taller than the original standard one because that one doesn't have any modifications. The head looks better, the face sculpt looks better. Actually, this figure is starting to grow on me. The more I had him in hand and was taking pictures with him, the more I really enjoyed adding him to the collection. It just gives you another option where you have a smiling Superman that a lot of people had been wanting. Now, you can easily pop off the fist, and my preferred hand was this pointing hand. And it just does something to have this like smiling face Superman like pointing at you. It looks really cool. I really like it. And this actually made it worth it for me to order this 2-pack. Now the hands, the base, the Atomica figure, those are all little extras. But once I got this figure the way I wanted him to look and the right height proportions, he just really grew on me. Now I did do some changes to the face that I'll show here. And one of the eyes just looked off to me, so I repainted it. And then I took off a little bit of the hue that they had on the lips and added a little bit of wash to the different tones in the face sculpt. And now for me, I'm really happy to add this guy to the collection. He just looks a lot better the way he looked in packaging, like a sort of weird Shrek looking figure. Now he actually is passable, and I will be adding him to the shelf in my complete DC Multiverse collection. Now next, let's take a look at the Ultraman. Now honestly, this figure isn't really a reason to pick up this 2-pack, but the different head sculpt and the different color scheme to the costume just make it an added bonus. Now they did go through, let me go ahead and bring out the original Ultraman release. And what they did do is they actually changed the pegs for the wrists. You can see it here, how the original Ultraman had some big jumbo wrists and they were actually colored blue to match the costume. And in this new release, it's actually skin tone colored wrist ball joint, and it just looks a lot sleeker and cleaner than the original release. Now the only other difference was at the ankle. They also went back and reverted to the ball joint where the original release had actually sculpted ankle joints. Now I'm not sure why they did that. It could be because these are a little bit loose. They're hard for the figure to stand up. You got to get them in that sweet spot. And with these ball joints that have the ratchet in it, it actually, once you get them in one standing position, it's easier to continue having them that way. But all this one is about is the head sculpt. You could see the difference. This one looks like a younger alternate version of Ultraman, while this one has a little bit of an older look and more of a cartoonish sort of sculpt job. And of course the heat vision eyes get added a little bit of more paint than the original version. Now I also have my custom Ultraman with the actual eyes visible. So now look at me. I actually have 3 different versions of Ultraman in my collection. But I actually think the best part of this whole thing for me was this different version of Rebirth Superman. I don't know what it is about him, but I'm kind of happy that I picked this 2-pack up. just for this figure alone, but the added hands, the Atomica figure, the base, all actually feed into it. Now, another tip I will give you, and that is I've done this for a while now, and usually what I do is I'll get one purchase of a release just to review it. If I can, if it doesn't happen, it's not a big deal. I don't always have to be the first or anything like that. But later on down the line, I always pick up another one to have in my in-box mint collection. Or if I want to have extras for custom work, I always wait until these 2-packs eventually go down in price. So my suggestion is, if you really want this, pick it up. If you could wait on it, wait until it gets dropped down in price. Probably at Target or on the McFarlane store, eventually these will go down to more like 20, 25 bucks. And that's when you can go ahead and pull the trigger. And that's a smart way to collect this DC Multiverse. But anyways, guys, pick them up if you'd like. I'm happy with it. It's a cool purchase. I will be picking up probably 2 more or at least 1 more in the future when the prices at least goes down a little bit. But you guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.